second lesson of the He is, I am, we are, the story of Moses. What do you say? All right. So, as we go in, let's recap a little about what we talked about last week. We got into a little bit about the wonder years. And if you remember, as we were talking last week, we went over the idea and what happened to Moses at the time of his birth, the incredible sacrifices that were attempted and made for his life, the trusting in God and having faith in Him more than trusting in ourselves, and how his mother and his sister did the right things and God provided for him. And as we left off last week, we left off in Exodus chapter 2, where now Pharaoh's daughter has rescued Moses, and Pharaoh's daughter has now taken him into her home. And as we left off last week, Moses' sister gets his mom. His mom is able to take care of him in his younger years. And then we have a gap. And then time goes on. And the next time that we see Moses is where we're at today. In chapter 2, Moses comes to be an adult, comes to be a man. And in that meantime, we have to kind of speculate what has happened with Moses. Moses has been raised in Pharaoh's house as if he were one of Pharaoh's children. But Moses inherently knows, for whatever reason, maybe it was his mother talking to him, maybe it is his father, Pharaoh, who is not calling him legitimate. We don't know. But we do know that he knows that his people are the Israelites. And in chapter 2, it says that he would go down and he would watch the Israelites. And if you remember back in chapter 1, the Pharaoh had decided to labor the Israelites very difficultly and tried to take out a lot of the children and doing everything in their power to keep the Israelites pushed down so they did not revolt against them. And now in chapter 2, we see Moses going out to look and to watch his people. Although he's been raised in Pharaoh's house, and I'm sure he's gotten the best schooling, he's had the best food, the best clothes. He's been trained in probably the arts of war. He's been trained in the abilities to learn things that the Israelites had no capability or option of learning. He's learned strategy. He's been educated. And now as a man, he goes out and he watches his people. And he sees an injustice. And he just can't stand by. I wonder how many years of him watching his people and watching the abuses happen, that one day it just swelled up inside of him in chapter 2, that he just couldn't take it anymore. And as that Egyptian was beating on that Israelite, he just lost it. He snaps. Then he goes and he kills that Egyptian for beating up on that Israelite. He buries him in the sand. And he goes on his way. Only to come out again just to watch his people because he wants to somehow be a part of them, although he's not really a part of them. He is, in his own mind, their champion. He is their underdog. He is their superhero in higher places. And as he goes in chapter 2 and he sees two Israelites disputing each other, he tries to break it up. Only to be told, what are you going to do? Kill us like you did that Egyptian? You're no superhero. You're just a thug. You're just a brute. You're just somebody who kills people. You're not one of us. And it terrifies him because he realizes there was somebody watching. Because there's always somebody watching. Trust me, there's always somebody watching. And he realizes that as Pharaoh hears that he kills an Egyptian, he's not in that good of graces with his dad. That he's in trouble. And he runs. And the Pharaoh hears. And the Pharaoh wants him put to death. And he runs and he runs and runs to me. And again, he is given the opportunity to be a champion. As we go into the end of chapter 2, we see him coming to a well and he's thirsty. He's tired. And he sees these 7 young ladies tending sheep. Coming in and trying to water their flock, probably earlier in the morning. And there's multiple people watering lots of flocks, but they were You're not a man. Go on, wait your turn. Thanks for the water you've already drawn. This is for our animals, not yours. And Moses, again, his inherent need to do the right thing and to be a champion, steps up and says, no, I don't think so. That's not how it's going to be today. They were here first. They will get the water. And if you've got a problem with it, feel free to talk to this Egyptian about it. And just in his presence of how he looks, probably how he talks, there's a fear about wondering what kind of retribution will be coming to the rest of them. Only to have the daughters go home early, and Dad say, hey, what's going on? Why are you back so early? Because you never get home this early. They tell everything to Dad, and Dad goes, why did you let him go? I can understand this, Dad, of 5 girls. What? There's a good man around? Go get him. I can get rid of one of you guys. The warrior looks pretty good. Right? Moses comes back in and he works for their dad. He marries Zipporah. And they have 2 sons. And over time, I'm sure he starts to think less and less about Egypt. And more about him being a prince and having everything he wanted to being a dirty shepherd. But at peace, walking the animals around with his wife and his children. And then we start today. In chapter 3. We start now where he's come at peace with this. It's been roughly 40 years. It's been a long time. He's set his roots. He knows what's going on. He's come to peace with who he is. He's probably forgot a lot about his past. And as he's going down, we see this in verses 1 through 4. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in the flames and from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see the strange sight. Why does the bush not burn up? When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, here I am. So interesting as we start to read this, we start thinking, we were talking about class today about as we meditate on these scriptures and we start really debating in our minds and thinking about where Moses is at with things. He is on a long trek to the other side where no one else is taking the flocks. He's crossing through some desert-like regions, and he's seen probably several tumble bushes and different things of that nature, and a lot of them are dried out. And a bush being on fire is not really that big of a deal, to be honest with you. A lightning strike can do that. People's campfires from before, maybe an ember burning over one and it's on fire, it's not a big deal. But when he notices this bush is not burning up, it's engulfed in flame, but it's not burning, he notices, hey, there's something odd about that. There's something just not right about that. As a matter of fact, if you really digest the words that are saying in there, it says the flames were coming from within the bush. It doesn't say the bush was ever actually on fire. The flames are in the bush. It is God in the presence of something so common, which goes into where we want to start off today. God appears in the ordinary. I don't know if you realize this or not, but God appears in the ordinary. We want him to be extraordinary. We want to see the huge miraculous signs. We want to see the apocalyptic kind of actions so we go, ooh, that's God. But all too often, God, the God that we serve, the God that we know, doesn't go for the big grandeur. When he really wants to talk to his people, he appears in the ordinary, to the ordinary, with the ordinary. See, there's nothing extraordinary fire is common. But when you put those two together with God, it becomes extraordinary. So God appears in the ordinary. Along with that, I want you to notice something in the Scriptures. God waits for us. If you look back in the Scriptures, let me show it to you again. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush. Did you catch that? God was in that bush. Moses is by the bush. Moses is walking past the bush. God doesn't go, hey, I'm over here. Moses, hey, me right here. I need to talk to you today. God waits for Moses to take an action. It's something we need to realize as followers of God. That God sits in our ordinary. God's presence is in our daily lives in the ordinary. And sometimes we're searching for something way bigger than that, only to miss the opportunities to see God where He is. Because God is around us. But God is waiting for you to see Him. He wants to do things for you, but He's waiting for you. And it's not until you decide to see what God has the capability of doing that God will respond to you as He did to Moses. It's at that moment whenever Moses' life changes and he becomes God's for good. It's at the moment when he decides, yes, I need to see where this is going. And yes, there's something great with this. And God does call him Moses, Moses. And Moses responds, here I am. You know, our theme for this year is, He is, I am, we are. And the I am comes from what we're getting ready to read, but I just noticed so many times as we're reading in chapter 3, how Moses continually says, I am. But it's not the way that God says, I am. In Exodus 3, verse 5 and 6 says, do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. He's been staring down that bush, wondering what's going on with it, noticing it was something different. And now, as God speaks to him, it starts to register what he's gotten himself into. And so many times we put ourselves into situations where we've called on the name of God to do something, and we have no idea the power of God wheels behind him. And sometimes we forget that, and God has to wake us up a little bit to say, don't forget, I am God. See, he says this to Moses who has heard, I'm sure, from his father-in-law, and has heard from his mother, that there would be a time when these Israelites would be freed. We talked about this last week. And when God starts raising down the genealogy to him, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, he starts going through, and Moses realizes that's my heritage. That's my God. That's the God that no one's heard from for hundreds of years. And he's speaking to me. And now all of a sudden, the man who's staring at the bush in amazement hides his face and is even afraid to look at the flames inside of the bush because he realizes, I'm in over my head. God appears in the ordinary. God waits for us. But he's not who, but what we need to realize is it's not who we are, but who he is. Let me show what I mean by that. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. And this will be a sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses saying, who am I? Who am I? Am I? Am I? ask me what is his name, then what shall I tell them? See the theme going on here? Moses, for some reason, thinks it's really about him. Moses, in the midst of all this, has deceived himself thinking that it's really about Moses. And too many times we do the same thing. We come to God before things and we ask Him for things, and when God starts to provide for us in our needs and God starts to lead us, we start asking, well, what does it have to do with me? Well, what's in the church for me? What do I get out of this? What am I supposed to say when people ask me about this? Who am I to go share the word with other people? Who am I to represent this church? And God fixes it right here. And I love how this is tied into the word, because I think it has meaning. God said to Moses, I am who I am. In other words, let's redirect this just a little bit, Moses. It's not even about you. It's about me. You don't worry about them knowing that you're Moses from the past. You don't worry about the words that you're going to say, because I am with you. You don't worry about how you're going to look, or what you're going to wear, or how they're going to respond to you. You don't worry if they're going to accept your words or not, because it's not about you, Moses. It's about me. Because I am who I am. Because I am the God, the one, the only. I am the one they've been looking for. I am the one who they've been praying to. I am the one who they are crying out for. I am, and you are my messenger. So don't forget your role, Moses. Because this is what I expect from you. God appears in the ordinary. God waits for us. It's not about who we are, but about who He is. And finally, God is with us. We've got to remember this, church. When we're afraid, God is with us. When we're challenged, God is with us. When we don't know if we can take another step, God is with us. When we don't know if we can do this one more time, God is with you. When you're terrified that somebody may question you about your faith, God is with you. When you're in that study with somebody and you finally break down, you share your faith a little bit, you don't know where it's going to go, don't worry. God is with you. You are His servants. You are His children. You have given yourself to Him. Not partially, but as a whole. Those of us who have committed to Him, we've taken steps into those waters, we baptized ourselves for the forgiveness of our sins, and Christ has done, His blood has done it for us. We rose up not to be ourselves anymore. Or have we forgotten that? That whenever I came out of those waters, it wasn't about Brian anymore. It wasn't about my preacher conference. It wasn't about what I like to do. It's about Him. It's about this incredible God who is the I Am. And as we see later on, as we go through the words here, we will see that God is a continual provider. Although it is about Him, although we are His servants, He will continually rain down on us everything that we need and more, because He is a great Master. He is a wonderful God who sees our needs before we even know them and provides for them in ways that we cannot even comprehend. And all that He asks for us is obedience. And even in the midst of our fears and our inabilities to go past our fears, God provides even more. God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. And He says, you tell them, when they're wondering what they're supposed to call me, I am the I Am. When they even know what to call it anymore, but they just know there's something up there. You tell them that I am God. I'm not a God. I'm not a super being like a bunch of others. I am the one, the only. I am the creator. I am the I am. I put I am into motion. Everything else you think is wonderful is nothing compared to me. You remind them that that's what you call me. Because I will take care of this. There's no need to call anyone else. I've got you. And we will do this. And Moses, those are the words. See, God says, I am who I am. And we are who we are. And when we keep that in mind, wonderful things happen. When Moses kept in perspective, great things happened to him as people. But don't be fooled if you study just later on in that chapter and the next. If you lose your focus, the I am is still the I am. We look in there to where before Moses even gets to Egypt, he's irritated God so much that God planned on killing him. And it's only his wife that saves him. He can't even get past the desert with his kids. Get back to Egypt where he irritates him. Isn't that us? Isn't that you and me? We have these stellar moments. We have these moments when we are face to face with God. We've seen his glory. We bow in awe of his greatness. He shows us incredible things. We're excited. We're pumped even though we think we have inabilities to do things. He encourages us and we start to follow what he says. We start doing what he says. And in the midst of it, we stumble and we fall down. And we don't even get out of the starting block sometimes. That's us. That's Moses. And because of great people that Moses had around him, because of their love for the I am, because of their quick thinking and not letting him suffer by himself, they saved him. His wife saves him. And in the midst of him trying to give reason why he couldn't do things, God just kept on opening doors. Because God had a plan. And finally, Moses got out of the way and let God do his plan. Our God is not secretive. Our God does not try to hide from us what his plans are. He made it clear with Moses from the get-go, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go back. You're going to ask for them to leave. He's going to say no because I'm going to make him say no. And then I'm going to show the full power of who I am. And then he's going to beg for you to leave. That's what's going to happen, Moses. Because I am the I am. That's our God. That's the God that loves us, that gives us second chances. Instead of having us a poor in our corner now, we got something so much more. We have his son, Jesus Christ. We have the Savior who came down and he died for us, so that when we make those mistakes, when we stumble, when we fall, he is there to pick us back up. He sets us back in our path. He guides us where we need to go, and we keep on going. Moses didn't quit. Moses never quit. He needed help along the way, and we'll see that next week. But he didn't quit. Just like for you and for me, there are times when we struggle. And that's why we need family. That's who we are. We're here for each other. To care for one another, to pick each other up, to give each other the opportunity to succeed. To show other people the greatness of God when we can't really see it ourselves. To see the majesty and the incredibleness of our Father and the gift of his Son. So that we can see where we need to go and what we need to do. And there is a whole group of people out there that stand outside these doors that do not know our God. That are crying for help, that they don't even know what they're crying for. They don't even know the name of the person they're crying to. They have a small inkling of what God is, but they don't understand how it works. understand what his powers are, what he can do. They've been taught the wrong thing for so long, where they've kind of blown it off that he just might not even be real. And it's our time to come back to our people and tell the people, this is who our God is. We're not telling them, this is who I am, this is who my church is. We're not saying, this is how come I'm such a great Christian. We're not saying, this is how many Bible scriptures I've memorized, and these are all the songs that I know. No. When we go to the lost, we say, I'm here because of the I am. And it's just because I am. Because there's no way that I can get enough to come before you today. That's our God. That's our mission. If you've not known God, you want to be able to get to know him in a special way. You've never been baptized, we want to give you that opportunity today. If you've kind of fallen away, and maybe you're kind of in that point where you've been walking around in that desert with your flock, and you've kind of ignored the bush that's burning on the side, maybe today's the day that you saw the bush, and you're ready to come walk over to it and talk to it. Is God speaking